My name's Michael Adler, and I work for a company called Vivi. We are a mobile-first platform. We work directly for brands, and some of our biggest clients are Disney, Marvel, DC Comics, Coke, and 200 other brands. So first I want to thank Nhan and Nft.NYC. When Vivi was, I think, the first sponsor 5 years ago, it was in a small room, probably as big as a closet, with 500 people. And I think there was like 10 speakers. And it's grown significantly over the last number of years. So I want to thank my fellow panelists, for this panel today. And want to give just a little introduction about what we're speaking about, the future of gamification and utility in the NFT space. As everyone knows, the last 2 years have been pretty crazy, major boom. NFT sales have gone from 200 million in 2019. I think the last quarter was over 12 billion. And it's been a great run. So the first generation of NFTs, or NFT 1.0, was really focused on building community. And so today, I want to introduce my panelists and really want to get into a deep conversation about what the future of NFTs look like and gamification. So you want to take it away?
Sure. Hey. Excuse me. Hey everyone, my name is Nhan Phan. I am the CTO of Metaplex. Thank you. And what is Metaplex? Metaplex is the NFT standard and technology platform for all Solana. So you may not know this, but every single Solana NFT is a Metaplex NFT. And we've only been around for, we just had our 1 year birthday last month. And happy,
Great.
thank you. And we've since then, from nothing, created almost 15 million NFTs, printing 1 million NFTs per month, right? So this thing is growing faster than ever, doing 3 billion in value that's been created to the creators and the collector community. But I see the future. Like, we're a technology platform, so we're always investigating what are the interesting projects, what are the types of things that they're doing, what are the companies' types of features and applications are required. And the interesting part is utility, right? 99% of NFTs haven't been created yet, right? And as blockchains get faster in speed and lower in cost, right? This is where we're going to see the power of utility emerge and probably be used by the masses.
All right, that's great. Nhan, take it over.
How's it going? My name is Brian Christensen. I'm the founder of Block Cities, blockcities.com. We built the infrastructure for the physical world. So being able to take things like real estate, agriculture, renewable energy, physical assets, tokenize them, make them available just in smaller increments, so lowering the barrier to entry for investments.
Arun, take it over.
My name is Arun Benty. I'm a co-founder at Phan. Phan is a crowdfunding platform using NFTs. What we do is we help independent artists, musicians, filmmakers, anyone who is looking to get started with the initial capital that you need to start your creative project. Could be anything. We have a platform and a unique kind of an NFT called a backer token, which you can mint, and these backer tokens can represent a percentage of ownership or revenue or any construct that you think of. You can program it into the edition of the NFT, and you can get backers to back you. Our goal and dream is to make NFTs a utility that can be used by anyone, anywhere in the world, and make it a more equitable, ecosystem for the creative arts. And we hope that tomorrow the next pop star or the next Picasso would come from anywhere in the world. It could be Africa, it could be Southeast Asia. That's our goal, that's our dream. So that's what we're working on.
All right, great, thank you. So as you see, I think we have 4 different areas covered. Vivi on the brand side, you on the technology side. I guess, a metaverse or a virtual world, and more on the artist side, which is great. So we have 4 different perspectives on utility value. So I think this will be a really good conversation. So I just want to go into what is utility value for NFTs. So utility NFTs and the use cases go way beyond just digital assets. There are NFTs which grant their own privileges, rights, or rewards, which they would not otherwise be able to access. And we're going to delve deeper into that. What really does utility value mean? And it means a lot of different things for brands, users, technologists, and everything else. But from the VV side of it, 2 years ago, when we started talking to all the major brands, we were trying to figure out what they were looking for. And for us, the platform that we built was really ease of use, where we were giving our users utility value from day one. For us, utility value it's really being able to buy a collectible on our platform, super easy of use. Once you own a collectible, you can open up an AR. You basically have your collectibles with you 24/7. You have your own virtual showroom where you can display your collectibles however you want. And then for us, it's also having a full secondary marketplace. So for us, it's a lot more simple what utility value means, and also trying to work with brands like Disney, Marvel, and trying to understand what they want. A lot of utility value is around activation. But I want to turn it over to my fellow panelists and want to get some perspectives on current uses for utility value and gamification.
Yeah, so I mean, right now, obviously, we're familiar with the different use cases in terms of like NFTs for anything from like ticketing, events, be able to redeem it, for different scenarios. In the same way that, at one point headphones had cords on them, and you could look at it, and you've got like a mouse that's Bluetooth, and everything else is Bluetooth around you. At some point, it's inevitable that the pair of headphones with the cord is going to go Bluetooth as well. So. And from that perspective, there's certain things that are absolutely going to come forward in terms of like what that might look like. To me, I feel like it'll be anything from like your Pokemon Go for the real world, where being able to incentivize human behavior, to go here, and then get a little reward at the end, all the way over to architecture for NFTs. We haven't even started to see what NFTs can do for that world, but when you can take a design of a building and actually purchase an NFT, and then anyone, anywhere in the world can just simply hand that to a general contractor because it unlocked the plans as a result of owning that NFT, that's an application that is absolutely inevitable. And so, the future is definitely bright as long as we're building it that way.
Arun, what are you saying on the artist side? Currently, on your platform, what are they looking for from a utility value standpoint?
Yeah, I think, to give a sort of a mental model in terms of how we're looking at art or creative output in the NFT space, the way I tend to define it is the NFT is merely a pointer, and that's it. It's just a record. It has no other property except for that, there's a wallet that owns this record on the blockchain. And what it points to, it could point to anything. Today, when you think about digital art in the context of NFTs, sort of takes you back to the early 90s when you used to have web pages with just text and maybe an image, right? And then we're yet to get to the evolution of NFTs in digital art, where you see these. You remember those web pages with the funny JPEGs, the funny GIF images running across the screen and stuff like that, like the old Yahoo pages. We're not even there, okay? So we're in very, very early stages. So eventually you're going to start seeing utility in the creative field where, NFTs can mutate, NFTs can change, NFTs which basically reflect your personality. It could be anything, okay? So we've not scratched the we just scratched the surface in terms of what the possibilities are from a creative standpoint, right? Today is just, a single-dimensional JPEG. Yes, people are adding music, we are adding, 3D, but you have to ask yourself, well, you could do this even without an NFT, right? So the whole ownership aspect of it is a critical part, and I think we're still not really explored what the ideas are from a utility standpoint. When you're dealing with NFTs in the creative space and you're talking about utility, you tend to face a lot of criticism from artists, right? Where the artist says that the art is the utility, which is great, fantastic. I think that argument is very valid. But I think we're not using, I think we yet to see the digital Picasso, okay? We're not there yet, okay? So I think that's where I think from a utility standpoint, there are lots of properties in the NFT ecosystem where there's this bridge between technology and art, and we are at basically ground zero. So in the next 5 years, we'll see some unique utility in that space for sure.
That's great. We'll get into the future in a couple minutes. But on that note, Nhan, the technology. Are there limitations? You have hundreds of companies coming to you that are building on your platform. Is there a technology limitation? And what are most of those companies, what are they looking for?
Yeah, great question. So as we think about what an NFT actually is, right, it's just a cryptographically signed piece of data. Much to what Arun was saying, right? You could put anything inside of it, and what is also interesting is you could put a program inside it, right? So it's not just ownership of an asset or ownership of a picture or a pointer to some art or whatever. It could also be an entire program, like an entire capability, right? And so then the question is, okay, well, what can you do with data? What can you do with capability? And really, if we have seen the digital space grow in the last 20 years, the answer is anything, right? It's basically what we can imagine. And so I think that's just something really interesting about the ownership aspect. And so as it relates to companies that are trying to build on top of the Metaplex platform or the Solana NFT ecosystem, right? What they're looking for is composable foundational pieces, right? Like, I need staking, I need ownership, I need transfers, I need the ability to do auctions or sales, royalties. And so, we really focus to provide the core layer and the building blocks so that other companies and creators and developers can take these things and combine them together to build stuff that we've never seen before, right? And again, to Arun's point, like, we're just barely scratching the surface, right? And the rate that NFTs are being created is just getting faster every day.
Okay. So it looks like NFT 1.0 has really been defined by like the Bored Ape Yacht Club. So they came out, built a community. People flocked to the community, but a lot of it is around fear of missing out. The FOMO aspect, price appreciation, scarcity. I think as we're seeing right now, I mean, there's a little downturn in the NFT market. What is the next step? What's NFT 2.0 to you as you're building a new platform right now? What does it look like? And what are you thinking as far as strategy and what you're looking to build? Because you've been sitting back, you've seen everything that's happened over the last few years. Now you have the opportunity to bring something to market that has more utility value, gamification, and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, like, when the margin calls start happening and people need, to access some cash, right? NFTs are definitely one of the first things, to experience that. And so unless it's backed by some type of utility, then those are going to be more susceptible to those price fluctuations, right? But one of the things I've been geeking out about pretty hard is, this concept of stackable commands. And I originally saw this, with one of the DeFi platforms that was out there, where you could take different financial commands and then stack them like little Lego financial, building blocks and run it through. And from that perspective, let's just take the realm of like building in the real world, so construction project, right? When we can create phase one is find a piece of land that is X number of acres within this territory, and it has to be under this amount loan to value, let's say, or acquisition relative to value. Phase two is you're doing the design and engineering. Phase three, site prep. Phase four, vertical. When you can actually create an acquisition vehicle that ultimately can dangle a carrot for anybody to go out and find a great piece of land and then bring it into this, the system, to me that's like programmable creation at its finest. And if we fast forward enough, that's definitely what we're going to be seeing, if not in the next year.
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next 12, 24 months, especially not just from a technology standpoint, from user behavior standpoint, in what do brands want, what do creators want, and what's going to happen on platforms. So everyone's talking about the metaverse. Everyone's talking about the bridge between the digital world and the physical world. What are your thoughts, Arun, on the physical world, digital world, metaverses, and then, look, there's play to earn. There's a lot of ways that you can gamify and have utility. How do you think those two worlds will bridge?
Yeah, I think in terms of the NFTs sort of, crossing over and providing utility in the physical world, we're at very early stages. There are a bunch of logistical problems, when you're dealing with. I'll give you some examples in terms of, I'll give you a really simple example in terms of what I've seen in the ecosystem that we're building. We have artists who come to us and say, look, we would like to give a physical utility, like a physical artwork, along with the NFT. It seems like a great idea, but from an implementation point, there are a lot of problems with it. The NFT marketplace, is a global marketplace first and foremost, right? And it lives in the metaverse, right? The minute you tie something physically to it, there are some constraints. A simple constraint could be secondary sales, right? So I buy the NFT, fine. Now, as an artist, it's my, as a utility provider, I need to ship this physical piece, right, to the person who owns the NFT. What about privacy, right? The NFT market is, is rife with people who do, who don't dox themselves, right? A person who doesn't dox themselves is going to give you their home address to send the physical piece. Pretty unlikely, right? And how are you going to handle secondary sales, right? So once the NFT is sold to the secondary person, the new owner, right? The secondary sale happens. You can't expect that person to send the physical piece again, right? So it sort of breaks down when you try to sort of straddle the physical and the digital world. Regulation is another aspect that can be a block, that can have some blockages. So, but there are a lot of companies that are working on innovative ways of bridging this divide. I just think that we still don't have the infrastructure to do that right now, but it doesn't mean that, the companies are not, sort of innovating in this space. But we are still a little ways away from that.
I think those are good examples. Like over the last years with Vivi, there are three classic examples. Disney Plus, who we're working with, it was their 1-year anniversary, and we came out with Disney Moments, and the key for us was to be able to bridge a way for someone who has ownership to actually get some type of unlocked value. So if you got a secret rare of a secret moment, you'd get a 3-month or a 12-month subscription to Disney Plus. So brands were trying to figure out how they can drive traffic, how they can increase engagement, and that's one aspect. Another aspect of what we did was through tickets. You buy one of our collectibles for a 007 movie. It's exclusive rare. You could take 3 or 4 of your friends to the movie. And that's really just the starting point of trying to figure out what the utility value is going to be. So we got a couple minutes left. I want to at least get to gamification. If someone wants to talk a little bit about gamification, you want to talk about knowing that what you're building is super cool.
Yeah,
I can't wait for it.
For sure. So like we come back to the metaverse and like this bridge between the digital and the physical world. Right now, as it currently stands, comes down to either you're creating a virtual twin planet, right, or you're creating one that's more fantasy-based, in which there's unlimited number of worlds that you can create. Okay. From the perspective of the digital twin planet perspective. Elon Musk talks about how it's often the most entertaining outcome that wins, right? And I love to think of this idea of like what happens when degens become capable of development in the real world. You know what I mean? I feel like we'll be able to spark up some of the most ridiculous destinations that will be incredibly fun. And so, from that perspective, the highest and best use of this technology, at least in my opinion, and I'd love to hear, other inputs because I'm always looking for that highest and best, but it's using the metaverse as a sandbox for the physical world to be able to come together and figure out what actually makes sense to bring into form, vote on it, and, through tokenization, actually bring it into form.
So on that Nhan, you're looking at, talked about NFT 1.0, 2.0, which is hopefully we're in the middle of. What does NFT 3.0 look like?
3.0.
To put you on the spot.
Okay, and NFT 4.0. I mean, I have a couple of different thoughts here. I think the first is as a technologist, we need to stop talking about technology, right? We need to stop using the words NFT. We need to stop talking about blockchains.
I like
right?
that. That's great.
And it's because real users, they just want the value, right? Like, what can your thing do for me? How is it improving my life, right? And when was the last mobile app you downloaded because it was like hosted on AWS, right? No one cares, right? So the longer that we get stuck in, this blockchain versus that blockchain, or where it's different because it's the same thing, but it's added with NFTs, right? It muddies the message of the value that we're supposed to be creating for our consumers, right? So that wasn't really a direct.
Can we ever get there? I mean, there's going to be 100, 200 different metaverses. Are you going to be able to be interoperable and take assets from one metaverse to the other metaverse? It sounds like it's just going to be like a huge maze of technology that won't be able to work together.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. In terms of the interoperability, right, that's one of the great values or supposed values of a publicly.
It's going to create a lot of challenges.
Yeah, but it's going to create a lot of challenges, right? But I'm confident and bullish that this is a surmountable challenge. And as we think about the trends, right, people are increasingly living their lives online, right? The younger the generation, the faster this is happening, and they prefer to live online rather than in person. And the reason why this is important is because all of the social needs of a human aren't going away, right? They're just living in some other space. And so the ideas of ownership and custody, right, now become something that's very important for someone that lives online. Social signaling, being part of a community. So I think that the winning products are really going to be the ones that foster the relationship between individuals that live in the metaverse. So that's a very, meta way of answering the question.
All right, so we got a couple more minutes. Really quickly, Arun, community, NFTs, the future. I mean, what are you looking at?
So, I have a little experiment at home. They're called kids, right? So, if you want to look into the future, all you need to do is just, stand back and observe what your kids are doing. I have twin boys at, 13 years old, and they spend an inordinate amount of time on Roblox and Minecraft. And an example I can give you as to what you can expect in the future. So I promised them some money for doing some chores. They didn't want fiat currency. They wanted Robux.
Yes, my son, same way.
Right? And they want to buy shoes, but they don't want to buy real shoes. They want to buy shoes in Roblox. Okay, so why? Because their friends hang out in Roblox. The experiences that they have is in Roblox. Okay, and that's where they get to show off, or experience this social, very weird social life, inside of this metaverse. So our kids are already there. Okay, it's just that we are slowly getting in. Our work culture is getting into it. So I think it feels a little disturbing and dystopian, but that's what every parent generation thinks, that the kids generation is dystopian. But that's the future that we're going towards. It just shows that the value of physical and the value in the digital ecosystem is sort of catching up, right? So we're going to have more and more assets that we value in the digital ecosystem.
Hopefully they're going to have value.
That's kind of what we see in NFTs.
That's going to be the biggest problem. Brian, one thing you're most excited about, pre-launch going into the future?
Oh, man.
Putting you on the spot. We ran out of time, so
I
you
mean,
might.
to me, creating a city using this technology, small city, but taking the concepts, like building upon the same thing that like the Venus project was laying out, principles from like Buckminster Fuller, et cetera, being able to actually bring a larger scale development into real form, I think will be absolutely unbelievable, because at that point you're creating a new template, for how we could live.
When are you looking to launch?
We'll be launching, so our virtual Earth actually already launched in private pre-sale. We're actually built on Metaplex technology
There
on
you
the
go.
side. Shout out to them.
There you go.
But yeah, so check out blockcities.com. Virtual Earth is available. Our official launch with the platform will be taking place in the next few months.
That is great. Okay, I think we're done. I think that's a wrap. Thank you very much for coming on the panel and talking about the future.
Thanks for having us.
Hopefully we'll get there.
Thank you for moderating.
That was so great, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Great panel.